Foundry, or playing it on Foundry, setting it up, and that remains one of the most popular videos on my channel. So I thought, seeing as it's almost a bit old now, that video, I probably should do a little update. And I made a little list. I don't know how well I'm going to stick to it. I'm not necessarily the list person. But the initial bit I wanted to check show is the setting up of the modules. Then go through the character sheet, and this is probably going to be more than one video. Then how I use the map and how I sort of use the stickers that come with the map in the real folder. Maybe have a look at combat. Maybe have a look at some of the creating your own items, monsters, whatever that might be, and how the macros work, and possibly some other useful modules for it. So if that's of interest, let me know. Leave a comment what you want to hear about. But I think I'm going to just start with the setup. So what I've created here, and this is hosted on the Forge, so it might be slightly different if you do it at home on your own Foundry install, is a blank system. So all I've done so far is I've configured it using the Forbidden Lands rule set, which is free. And you can see that there basically is nothing included, as you would expect. You can already make actors. So you can already on here have the main functionality, the character sheet. You can use it as it is to play with. Works quite well. You can even, I believe, use the character generation up here, where you can just say, all right, I want to have a quick character beginning of the session, or maybe in the middle of a session, because I messed up. Yeah, I died. I had whatever. I need a quick other character. You can select some things you want to select from here. I will tell you at the bottom here what that looks like, what that would mean for your attributes and for your skills. You can also have the formatted events, or you can, for each of these fields, you can just select something or randomize something. So if I wanted to use this, I just apply it, and there you go. I now have a character. I think that took a grand total of something like 15 seconds, without reading the options, of course. And on here, I would then have hunting instincts, etc., sword fighter. I would even have the gear just mentioned as a gear note. So I would still have to go into the items because they are not configured, and then create those items for myself. But basically, this is a few other things I need to do, pride, etc. But it is very, very useful to be able to do this. Also, of course, if you want an NPC, this is really quick. But anyway, I'm going to come back to the character sheet. I just wanted to show you what's included with the basics here. There's no items included. There's no journals included. There's no scenes included. But the character sheet, the rollable stuff is included. And I believe, let me just double check that, the basic macros are included. So let's have a look at the compendium. Oh, no compendium. No, okay, they're not in. No, it's any music. So what I've, of course, done is ages ago, I went out and after having configured everything manually, I also bought the modules, the content modules. So I'm going to go into my manage module, and I'm just going to do the Forbidden Lands, the core game at this point. The shared compendium here is my own version of it, of my notes, of my scenario notes. And I think I'm going to include Dice So Nice. And that's all. So, core game, Dice So Nice. Save module settings, it will reload. And then I get a little prompt offering support. Philip here, hello Philip. And you've got a list of what's going to be imported. And I'm just going to say begin. So this will take a little while. It doesn't take too long, but enough to have a sip of coffee. So you get a splash screen. You can see it's slightly oversized. But this is the box cover. Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much, but the box cover. And you get a welcome message, which talks you through how this works. On the right-hand side of the map, you will also see that the stickers are parked off to the side. You can pull them around as tiles. I like to do that differently, but I'll show that later on. And yeah, it does tell you quite a bit here of what you can achieve. You also get the scene. So let's go systematically through it, shall we? Dice settings. One of the first things you should definitely do with Dice So Nice. You can see that they are pre-configured with the artifact dice and the skill dice and gear dice, etc. If you test the roll, you'll see that the 3D dice are coming in, and the dice, the plain ones, are the ones you don't use in this game system. So that's done. Maps and scenes. So in the core game one, you have 3 adventure sites: the Hollows, Weatherstone, Vale of the Dead. And they are the typical maps as you get them in the book. So there's a black and white version usually available. They've used the color ones, which you can actually download from Freelix's website. And that's your map. Let's have a look what that looks like. Of course, these maps are sort of isometric, bird's eye view. So they are a bit harder to use as a grid, but a lot of this is theater of the mind. This seems to be a bigger map. Don't know why it's taken quite as long to load. There we go. So I haven't used any other modules at all, so that's what you basically get at the beginning. And if you know Foundry a bit, if you click on the bookmark here on the left, you will get any map nodes placed on the map. So if you hover over them, let me zoom right in, you for example see, that's the well, that's the chapel, dead man's hand in the estate, and if you click on them, it opens the journal entry linked to the actors. Yeah, and some actors will have a picture, some will not. These are too unimportant, I guess, to have their own icons. So I tweak this appearance of these map pins with backgroundless pins, so that you don't get the gray boxes around them. And with show notes, so they are always visible. You don't have to necessarily go to the bookmark on the left. Rust Brother Sturkers, I believe he had some artwork in the book. Interesting. There he is. So, get another look at the character sheet here, but we'll do that a little later. What else is in it? We have maps, of course we have, and this is really important, I think, the kin map as well as the normal map. So then, I keep forgetting that I have to right-click on these without my module. So you activate the big map, and this is, of course, if you use it as a hex crawl, the map you're going to work on, and the players are going to uncover. Yeah, and you can see here's the map. Farlander, for example, can zoom quite in. Yeah, a little fuzzy when you zoom right in. One hex is 10k though. So normally I play it about this sort of zoom level. And the stickers that if you buy the box set, which I really recommend, is great. It feels gorgeous, it looks gorgeous. These are tiles, and you can actually, if you go to the tile menu here on the left, you can grab them. You can either copy them, Control C for example, and place them somewhere on the map. And then you've got a village here. Maybe make it slightly smaller. No, I didn't want that. If you double right click on it, you can also edit it here. So you can say, okay, I want 40 times 40. Update tile, and then you get this little village. If you hold shift down while you're placing it, you can place it precisely without it snapping to any grids. And then you would have a village on there. So that's how you can use the stickers. I personally, as I said before, use them as map markers using pincushion, so that if I hover over it, I get the title pop up, or I get my description pop up if I double click on it. But that's what the map looks like. I probably will go, if my list is correct, through how to use this with Fog of War as well for exploration. Right, what else is there here? So in the core game, you get the actors for the different adventure sites. Yeah, and whenever they are not delivered, if you like, with character art, there's a neutral token which just gives you their name, which I think is a decent solution, rather than just having the hooded figure that you get from Foundry. This looks a bit better. Quite clever, I think, the way he's done that. You get some animals, the ones that are in the core books. Most of them, unfortunately, don't have any artwork. Get some monsters, a lot more artwork on this one here. And mounts are now there. They are the cards. Yeah, when you buy the initial... Was it extra? I think it was extra. They're over here, the cards. That's why I'm looking up there. You get a deck of cards, and there's the initiative cards, there's some artifact cards, and there's some mounts. So those cards have made it into the game as well. Not quite sure how useful they are to use as cards. You can pull them on here, of course. And then you have the mounts like this. So the cards are being used as tokens. And with a nice little artwork. I really like that little dragon there. Haven't come across anybody using a dragon mount amongst the players yet. You get the NPCs from the rules, and you get the random encounters on here. The NPCs from the random encounters. That brings us to the items you get. So again, there are quite a few items. There are the artifacts. I'm not going to open them in case it gets too spoilery. You get the critical injuries. Now, they are not items you buy, of course, but you need to make them items to make them draggable onto the character sheet later on. You get all sorts of gear, weapons. You also get the spells configured in here. The strong buy path here, by a career path. You get the buildings, which you need for your stronghold, hirelings, which you need for your strongholds, and the talents. Yeah, they're all, you can drag them all onto the character sheet. I'm going to show you that later. So then we have the journal entry. The journal entry needs to have the whole rule text in it, of course. It's not as convenient as reading it as in a book, or not the same experience, of course. But it's really handy to have this available to you. So for example, if somebody asks, oh, how does that work with skills again? You can just go on here. Description of the skills, and if this is what the player was asking for, you can just show it to players from up here and it pops it onto their screen. Very useful. For example, this is a rule that people forget. I forget as well. That you can take extra time to craft something and then you have a bonus on making it because you took your sweet time about it. The same for the Game Master's Guide. So all the content is here and it's actually reasonably accessible. What I tend to do is I use a module called GM Screen, which is not enabled yet, but then I just select the bits I really need and index them on there, so I've got quick reference. Of course, you can use up here if you wanted to find out healing, doesn't work, recovery, yeah, damage and recovery. Use the search bar and you very quickly find the rules you want, as long as you remember the right word to search for. Yeah, you get roll tables, you get the critical injury tables, and horror trauma is one of them. You get the mishap tables, very important, because they happen a lot and they make it quite entertaining. Random encounters, they can get a little bit repetitive after a while of playing, so you need to add to them. And you get treasures. You also get initiative as a table, which works probably better at this stage than using the card module. This works quite nicely. So you get cards, the artifact cards, the combat actions, initiative deck, and the mounts. I haven't played with these yet, so I can show you that they're here, but I don't know how to use them yet. Ages ago, I created my own deck with the previous functionality, and we didn't use that a lot. You also get, and this is really cool, the soundtrack with the game. So when it was kickstarted, what's his name? Andreas, somebody made this soundtrack, and you've got that in the background. What I've currently got on, however, is something else. That's Dark Fantasy Studios. What is it called? Shadows, I think. The album by Nicolas Jeudi. I can really recommend. He's got a huge collection, and it might still be on Humble Bundle right now, because it certainly was last week. So you get the compendia with the macros, and these were the ones I was talking about earlier. So if I look at the macros you get, there's quite a few. Critical injuries, D66, dice roller, drawing, initiative. And if you want to share this with your players, you can right-click on them. So for example, draw initiative is one. You need to import them first. Sorry, forgot. Actually, I might just import them all. I have one double now. So macros, import all content. Yeah. And then if you click down here, you have got them on here. One of the most useful is the roll on tables. And you can see there's some others here as well. But magic mishaps, for example. If I click on that, I will roll a die. And on the chat card, it will pop what just happened. Paranoia. Okay. yeah, why is this so important, or why is this so useful, this one here in particular? Because this one is basically like a gate macro. From here, you just choose what table you want to roll on. So you don't need another button for each table. One button will do you. So if you say, currently we are in the quagmire, is an encounter today. One roll, I don't want to share with my players. And then I get here in the bottom, hopefully it's big enough. Ruins of old, rich merchant lived here long since dead. You can click on it and you see the whole entry, how that came about. Very useful. So that's the menu done. The next thing on my list would be, please feel free to ask something in the comments if you want to know, is the character sheet roll walkthrough. So let's have a look at that. And that's probably then enough for the first video. Character sheet. Let's make a new character here. So create a character. Tess I already have, so let's call it Jess. Why not? Empty character sheets. Yeah, and if you wanted to go through the character creation now, you can go through the journal. You can look it up as Player's Handbook, Your Adventurer, and there's an entry here for character creation. This will talk you through the process together with the other entries, of course. So you need a character sheet, which you can download. Well, yes, of course, this text is straight from the books, but if you're in Foundry, you just need that one. You need to choose a profession and an age and attributes. So, for example, one of the first decisions you need to make is your kin, human, half-elf, dwarf, halfling, wolfkin, and so on. And they're all listed here in kin on the site. So if you want to look them up, you can click on here and find it all. You also get this key information, which you will have to have handy. So let's, now dwarves. So I've got so many dwarves in my group. Let's make a wolfkin. So wolfkin. So next thing I need to decide is then the age. And I said, okay, the older you get, the fewer attribute points you get, but the more skill points you get for your creation. So you basically work your way through it. I won't do it all. It's a bit boring just to watch character creation. But yeah, you then need to decide the age. Wolfkin don't seem to get very old. You get the attribute points. You then need to have the skills, and this is where this having this other sheet behind it is useful. It tells you the key skills, kin talents, and key attributes. Not skills, actually. Yeah, and pride, dark secret. So it talks you through step by step. One thing this one doesn't do is the life path. So if you wanted to use the life path system, the Legends and Adventurers, I think it's called, you can selectively also use what I hinted at earlier, the character generator, and populate it with what you want and roll the rest. So I can, for example, say I want to be young, so let's roll until I'm young. Now I'm young. I'm going to be a rider. Sounds odd. A rogue with Path of Poison, Face. No, Face could be interesting. Gonna go this, and then you can basically choose what you want and apply. I showed you that earlier. But this one here is basically going through these live events. And if you don't like that one, you can always randomize it from here, or you can just pick it from a list. So you don't actually need to have all the lists there, because this functionality here will do that for you. Of course, if your GM agrees with you, you can shift some stuff about, like stealth, scouting, survival. That's all doable. So, character sheet. Let me just go back to the randomly created one because it's full. The way this works, basically, you've got the usual stuff over the top, kin, etc., age, reputation. You start with 0, unless there's a life path event, I think. Experience, of course, going to be fresh. No willpower either. The distribution here, if these are my attributes. If you want to roll on them, you just click on the title. Pops up this roll window, and you can then put any modifiers in that you need for this roll and say roll, and every 6 is a success. So in the chat card you see this success 1, Bane 1. The Bane doesn't become active until you push, but if you want to know exactly how it was rolled, you just click on the card and it will expand it there. So underneath here you get 4 categories, so each skill is linked to one of the attributes. So if I, for example, say I've got melee 3 and strength 4, then I should be getting 7 dice for melee. Of course, if I had a weapon, that would be on top of that. So let's have a look. 4 plus 3, roll. And there you've got an example of not hitting anything. If I pushed, I would damage myself. Let's just do that for a moment. Still no success, but now you can see that I had another Bane in it. So I now have 2 damage to strength. That's applied automatically. If you ever want to do it manually, you left click to damage your attribute, or you right click to heal it. Like that, left and right. So, if I had a sword, let's go to the items and find a sword. Broadsword, why not? Then you'll see it here. And now if I attack from here, from this sheet, and clicking on Broadsword, you'll see that at the bottom here I've got the gear bonus in it. If it's one with an artifact, I haven't tested this, but it should work like this. For example, if I say it's an important sword, it's got a 1d8, or one of the talent gives me a 1d8 artifacts die on it. Then there's the d8 and gives me an extra success here. Yeah, so the way the game works, the white ones are your attributes that give you those. So if you have a Bane on them, that damages you. The next ones are the skill. Then the one here does not have a Bane on it, doesn't ever damage you. The gear has a 1 on it, so if you push it, the gear can get damaged. And the artifact dice only has good stuff on it. There's no Bane on it. But it goes with a d12 artifact dice. It can give you up to, I think it's 4 successes on one roll. Interesting, because this is sort of a preview of the way they did the scaling of dice later on in Twilight, and what's going to happen in Blade Runner, in the other system. Yeah, so it's a slightly modified Year Zero engine, and this one was the first bit, certainly, that I noticed where they step up the dice like this. So, coming back to here, so the skills are down here. Conditions, there's only 4 conditions in this game. If you click on them, it ticks them. If you right click on them, it unticks them. No? Oh, okay. In this case, left click to activate and left click to deactivate. That's interesting. And it's not the same as the others. Right. So combat, weapons go in here, armor goes in here. Let's see whether I can find some leather jacket or something. Leather armor goes down here. And if you want to roll on armor, you just click on here. I will then roll it for you. And every success on it will take a damage away. If damage comes through, you damage your armor. So you may have to go in here at some point and reduce the dice for it. It's better done in the gear though, because then it will remember it. So if you go in here and edit it, if it's damaged rating 1, you'll see if I go back to combat, it now has a 1 on it. Critical injuries, let's just roll 1 for myself. Slash. Oh, that's a nasty one, isn't it? Cleft skull. Let's have a look. You die immediately. I don't want that one. Not that one. So let's do another one. Punctured lung. Oh, that's much better. If you roll one of those, you can put it onto your character sheet. You can then see here the effects of it. You can post it to the chat. Yeah, so basically you can keep track of it, and when it gets healed, you can remove it. Talents. From the automated character creation earlier on, I have these talents here. The only thing I believe, is that because I created this character before I had loaded the core module in, these are all empty, they're just names. So I would have to fix that by just going into the items and, for example, say hunting instincts. And you can see if it's got the icon on it, it comes from the core rule set, and the other one can go. So I can bin this one. It doesn't take too long, but ideally load the core book before you create your characters. Much easier. Class of the shield, okay. Cold-blooded, okay. Didn't know I had cold-blooded. And sword fighter. Alright, and that can go. So if you're thus equipped, you can always just go to edit here, you can see what it is about, or you can actually change something. The rank, if you go up to another rank in this, you don't drag another icon on, you just basically modify this shield, this field up here. It goes to 2. If you want to explain to the GM, like me, what this actually means, you can just post it from here. I will put it in the chat for you, so everybody can read it. So all ease of use really oriented. It's really good the way they've done it. Spells, I don't have any right now. Gear, I showed you already briefly. These 2 are placeholders. So chainmail actually I could have had. And a closed helmet and a longsword. Okay, never mind. At the beginning of the game, you would also typically start with some food and some water, depends on the scenario. The way this works is once a day, typically, you would roll for your resources. So if you have relatively little food, that's a d6, you roll this, and on a 1 or 2, I've got a 2, it reduces the die, and from a d6 down, you basically have nothing left. So I'm now out of food. Later on, if you find food, buy food or whatever, you can step this up all the way to d12. So at least you've got d12 to d10, to d8, to d6, to nothing. 4 rolls. You've got at least 4 portions of food, but in theory, it could last you forever. So that's also an interesting little thing. Same with arrows and torches. Arrows should really be rolled every single time you shoot an arrow. You can also see that this is actually taking up quite a bit of weight. So if I've got a d6 in everything, I'm already at 5.5 weight, together with, let's read all these, my leather armor and broadsword. So, and a chain mail, which I could have had, is heavier. Yeah. So that's this. Gold up here, I don't think I have to explain gold. You can just plus and minus it, you can enter it. You say, okay, I find 100 gold, as if. And you can see even gold weighs something. So if I go back to 1, it's 5.5. If I go to 50, 5.5. But if I think it's more than 100, then it weighs 1 extra half unit. Your bio, this is something, of course, you have to create yourself. Pride, you can roll on your pride. It doesn't know what your pride is. It doesn't need to know. You just need to roll, and if it's successful, like this, then great. If it's not successful, you might lose your pride. And you can only do this after failing another roll. My players don't tend to do this at all. They seem to forget that it's available. A note is, yeah, you can put your life path in here or anything else you want to. So that's the character sheet in the basics, but there are a couple of other features. So you can, for example, change the icon. If you click on here, it will open the file browser if you're a GM. It doesn't necessarily work for the players. You can then go, and this is slightly different because I'm on the Forge, you can go to your own folders, tokens, Forbidden Lands. Let's have a look. And I say, actually, I want to look like, I don't have a wolf, do I? Oh, maybe I do. You can also search. Wolf. No, I don't have a wolf. I've got a werewolf? No. Okay. But you can basically select your own little icon. So, also right up here, you can rest. So for example, if I have some damage, and I say, now I've got a successful rest, if I click on here, it heals all the damage, and it says test takes a rest. You need to have a rest or a sleep for quarter day in this game to have that. So there's no such thing as a short rest. You also have the character generation. I used it twice, should be enough for now. You can configure which sheet to use or to allow unlimited push rolls. This is something, of course, your GM should do. They can disable the setting. So, for example, there is a dwarf talent, a kin talent for the dwarves that allows you to push twice on strength rolls. And that's how you could potentially do this. And the one I skipped now, but I think I mentioned earlier, if you click on this roll button up here, you get this sort of free dice roll, a generic roll. So you can configure it however you like. So if you quickly get asked to say, oh, can you just roll me 1d6? Yeah, then you just go to skill die, roll 1d6, and it rolls it. Of course, many people know the chat commands for this, and they would say, okay, R1d6, that achieves the same. Or you can go to this little d20 here if it's enabled, and it's currently not enabled, to achieve the same. But that's a really useful thing to have that up here. Every character sheet has it. I didn't actually clock that until recently. I thought you had to have the macro down there called Dice Roller. That's the same thing. Dice Roller, this one here. Yeah, that's the same thing. But you have to look in a different place to your character sheet. So I quite like this one. Okay, so this was my walkthrough of how to set up the module. Yeah, there are some settings actually. I should probably go through those briefly. Module settings, sorry, not that one. Configure settings, module settings. So dice to nice I have enabled. And if you're looking for things like, I don't want the 3D dice to ruin my tabletop, you can disable them here for some things like the initiative. But the key thing here is if you ever want to re-import something, you can go in here and say, okay, core game, begin importing again. As it says, it will create folders. And I'm pretty sure, what does it say? If you have already imported all module content, all set content will be updated and overwritten. So even if you modified, for example, an NPC description just to remember the interaction that you had with the players, it will overwrite that if you do that. Yeah, so be careful how you use that. But it is very good that it doesn't just create a duplicate of everything, because that's what used to happen beforehand. So that's the way of re-importing it if you need to. Right, I probably have forgotten something really important. Yeah, one last thing probably. On the sheet, if you go to icon, to token, you have these things here as well. So normally your GM will probably set this up, but you can tweak it. So for example, if you're new in a group and people don't know which icon belongs to whom, you can easily just say hover by anybody, and if your token is on the map, let's just do that for a moment. Yeah, you can see that token artwork is not the same as the portrait artwork. And now get the name. What else can I do on here? I can choose that it's linked. Yeah, that these two are linked. It's not just a duplicate. Definitely should do that. I should probably, if it's a group member, have it as friendly. I wish that it defaulted to neutral actually. You can change the appearance. So this is where you would then create the token image, or where you would load it up. So it doesn't matter which one I take, does it? So update token. And you can also do the vision settings here. So if I take this one off and put it back on, then I've got the right token. You can also modify the token size. So this one is a bit big for this map. Right. How long have I been going? Doesn't tell me. How annoying. Oh, up there. Half an hour, just about. So I hope this was useful. As I said, it's sort of reviewing, remaking something that I've previously done, but with a different focus. Next time, if there's an interest for it, I'll probably do how I configure my map. And that's this map here. So that you've got sort of token exploration, how I set up a group token, what the group sheet looks like, fog exploration, and how to make sure that people can still read things like the legend, even if they haven't explored the country down there. If you like it, let me know. If you think there's something useful in this or something that you want me to cover, then please put it on. Leave me a like, a thumbs up. Subscriptions are always welcome. My aim is by the end of the month to get to 225 subscribers, and I'm 5 away, so it would be lovely to have a couple more. So until next time, and for now, I'm just going to say that's it.